This episode is going to be something a little different. The top conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. So, what do we have here? I was talking to my wife this morning, and we were talking about the mask mandates. And I told her, I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, if I would have told you back in the 60s, and I want to say that it's called wood forest or wood something, and I can't remember. I had it up last night when I was doing my research. And it was a conspiracy that was going around that the CIA and the federal government had a project that they were going to blow up a military base and some civilian watercraft or ships or whatever to make it look like, and then blame Cuba for it to start a war. And they declassified the information. JFK actually stopped it from happening. It was called wood something. Let me look and see if I can find it. Okay, I found it. It wasn't Operation Wood Nothing. That must have been something else I was looking at. It's Operation Mongoose. It's where according to the Miami Times, the basic idea was to turn world opinion against Castro and possibly justify a U.S. military invasion by pinning the atrocities on him meaning Castro. The details of the sinister plot are included in a summary about Operation Mongoose, a 1960 covert opt hatched by the CIA under President Dwight Eisenhower with the aim to topple communist Cuba. The campaign would include, in a report or pretext, in the U.S. could conquer up to justify a military invasion of Cuba. So basically what they were going to do is they were going to, they were going to bomb. And here's the report. We could develop a communist Cuba terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuba refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated. We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized, exploding a few plastic bombs in a carefully chosen spot, the arrest of a Cuban agent, and the release of a prepared document substantiating Cuban involvement also would be helpful in the project. The idea of a irresponsible government. That was the report. That's what came out. That was what was released and declassified. So back to my point. I asked my wife this morning, I said, if I would have told you that this plot existed back in the 60s, would you have believed me? Well, being my wife, she said, well, I wasn't even born in the 60s. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is if I told you right now that I believe, now this is strictly my theory, and I'm not a real big conspiracy guy. I think you have facts and you have hidden facts, but I don't really think you have, but there are conspiracies. There's conspiracies that have taken place in this country that has turned out to be absolutely true. MK Ultra. And take a listen to the chief psychologist on this one.
There was continued pressure put upon anybody within the agency in connection with trying to explain or understand brainwashing.
That was Dr. He was a head psychologist. That was Dr. John Gittinger back in the 70s. That was MK Ultra. That's where they gave mostly the addicts and patients they gave them LSD and just sat back and let's see how they react. Now, that's our own government, right? And that happened. We know it happened. There's documents that it happened. There's testimony that it's happened. We know this has happened. We know that Operation Mongoose happened in the 1960s. And my theory is when we first had these mass mandates, okay, the government loves to do social experiments. So when we first had these mass mandates, Fauci came out and he said, it's silly, don't wear them, they don't work. Surgeon General came out and said, don't buy them, they don't work. Now their excuse was didn't want to, buy up all the masks that medical professionals couldn't have them. That's hogwash. But yet they're promoting the fact that you can, regardless if there is anecdotal data that the cloth masks do not work. They work in helping people feel secure and warm and comfy, about like having an extra pair of underwear in your pants pocket. And it makes them feel relevant. And according to the World Health Organization, you want to wear yours so you don't mass shame, and you want to wear it because it makes people feel like that they're doing something. All right, whatever. But here's the problem. The problem is I believe, this is my theory, and I'm going to get to the point. I know you're going to say, Chuck, would you get to the damn point? Well, the point is this. I think it's a social experiment. I think it's about control. I think Ron Paul has it right. Senator Ron Paul. It's a control mechanism. It doesn't, every piece of evidence that I've read say they don't work. Even Fauci said they don't work. And then he comes back and he gives this bullshit excuse about, well, we just didn't want to, whatever. He gave this bullshit excuse about that, that the data shows that they help and it helps curb the spread, whatever. But at first he gave the truth. He told the truth at first. He said, don't wear them because you're really not in a controlled environment. And he said this: you touch your mask, you touch something else, you can spread the virus by just touching your face all the time and then not social distancing. It helps you it makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and you don't social distance. But if it is working to stop the spread, wouldn't it always also work to stop the spread of the antibodies that people get when they're asymptomatic? They get it, they're over it, they're spreading antibodies. Wouldn't that happen too? I don't know. I'm not an immunologist, but I do have an opinion, and I think it is a massive, massive attempt by our government as a social experiment. How many people will comply? Well, you're divided straight down the country on this. I don't wear them, not unless I have to. I went in Lowe's. I went in every other place. Not wearing it. I mean, if they force me to wear it, I got one that's got a really good message on the front of it that I carry with me in case, because I mean, I need to get what I need to get, and it's a private company, etc. But once the mandates are gone, and I'll tell you something else. Our governor, Tate Reeves, I'll never vote for him again, ever. But I tell you who I would vote for, and that is the governor of South Dakota. That woman had it right. She opened back up. Look at Florida, open back up, whatever. You're going to have spikes. What you should be looking at is the deaths. Keep our elderly away from this shit because it will kill them. And then, especially if they have underlying conditions. The virus itself in healthy people is relatively harmless. I say that, I won't say harmless. That's a bad word. It's relatively not deadly. But now to the people, it's deadly too. It's deadly. If you have underlying conditions and high blood pressure and diabetes, more so diabetes from what I read, I mean, it's deadly to you. It's not a joke. It'll kill you if you're in that group of people. So, but my question is I asked my wife, I said, and she said, no. I said, well, I think it's a good social. I don't think it's a good social experiment, but I think it's happening. And I'm not a conspiracy nut. I don't opine to some of all this mess, but it's just strange to me. And even one of Trump's administrators in the task force, I forget what his name was, but it was actually a true statement from some of his staff. Why the obsession with the mask? The World Health Organization came out at first. What about SARS? COVID-2, I believe it was, or SARS in 2019. Nobody wore a mask. 60 million people were infected. I can't even remember SARS. Nobody talked about it. And they went, oh, we just got lucky. No, you got herd immunity is what you got. 60 million people in this country got SARS. So, and there was relatively few deaths. I mean, I think that most of your deaths, like Cuomo up there in New York, just shoving infected people into nursing homes caused a massive amount of deaths. I do. I think in this virus, we should have took the Sweden model, protected the elderly and the vulnerable, and let everything else, let the rough end drag. Keep it all open, nonstop, no mask, no nothing. But hey, that's just my opinion. But anyway, the fact is you have conspiracy theories in this country that have become true, that are absolutely true. And they come out, they were trying to deem you as a nutcase at first. Look at asbestos. I'll give you an example for that. When the people and the manufacturers of asbestos tried everything that they could do to deem anybody looking into asbestos as kooks. But they have been knowing this shit's deadly since the Roman times. But they tried to hide it. And look at what's happening now with Hunter Biden and the emails and the scandals, and turns out it's true. It wasn't Russian disinformation. This is a ploy to try to get President Trump out. I bet you dollars to donuts that if we were under Obama's administration, you wouldn't have even known about COVID-19. They'd have kept that shit locked down, and the media would never even reported on it. You'd have had people dying, and they would have given an excuse. And I think when you start auditing the numbers of COVID-19 deaths, which right now is around, strictly dying from COVID was around 11,000 people. The rest of the people died with COVID. They didn't die of COVID. They died because they had underlying conditions, and COVID was the banana peeling they stepped on because they had been treating their body like a old honky tonk for the past 20 or 30 years, drinking too much, smoking too much, high blood pressure, eating too much. All that shit. That's what happens. So the fact of the matter is when you have underlying conditions, the shit will kill you. But I can guarantee you, or I can't guarantee you, but I have a theory. You didn't hear shit about SARS when Obama was in office, and you wouldn't have heard nothing about COVID-19 either. And the media wouldn't have reported on it. People would have got sick, died, and got better, and that'd have been it. Because his economy could not have taken the hit that Trump's economy took. We wouldn't have a country if you'd have shut it down under Obama. So the bottom line is this. I don't opine to all these wild conspiracy theories, but some of them turn out to be true. And I think, and I really believe this, that we're going to see when we audit the numbers and we audit all this information, and we go back through the numbers of the people that's died of COVID, and you're going to find that it was a lot less deadly to people than was actually reported. I have a theory, or I have a saying: man gets eat by croc, dies of COVID-19. What incentive are you giving hospitals to name it COVID and getting $13,000 for every person that dies of COVID-19? Well, you're going to get a whole lot of inflated numbers is what you're going to get. And we shouldn't be thinking about the amount of cases we have. We need to be thinking about the amount of deaths, the mortality rates. And our governor, Tate Reeves, apparently doesn't understand this shit. And he's listening to dipshits in our health administration. And I'm sorry, there are thousands of doctors that disagree with the profession. I mean, immunologists, people that are educated. How about get all of these people? When in this country can we not have a dissenting opinion? Let's get them all together in a room and hash it out. That's why they call it practicing medicine. They ain't got the shit right yet. And that's the truth. And I learned that in an EMT class I had. The instructor said that's why they call it practicing medicine, because they hadn't got it right yet. None of them are smart enough to know everything. Fauci's models were so fucking far off that it just reeks of disinformation. But in closing this morning, I want to say this to Facebook and Twitter. Good luck with your hearings, and they're fixing to lock your ass down. and you're going to regret ever poking that bear. If you like my message, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, like it, share it. Share it with your friends. We need to build this channel up. And all I can say is God bless you and bye-bye.